Hi, in this video I want to show you how you can set up and use the MPC Live as a sound module and trigger the different sequences in Ableton by sending program changes. Okay, first what you have to do is set up the MPC so that it knows what to do when a program change is received. You go to Menu, Preferences, and under General there's an item that's called Program Change. Set it to Sequence. I believe normally it's set to Program, but you have to set it to Sequence for this to work. Because this is a two-part series, I recorded in events from the MIDI clips that we used in the previous video where I showed how you can use a drum rack to sequence the MPC. Okay, what I did was I created several sequences, and on the first track I hit record and played the MIDI clip in Ableton till all the events were recorded, and it's also for the second and the third and so on. Okay. What I also did was create two more tracks. The second track is for the tube synth and the third track is for the bass line, and recorded some events there also. Okay. I've set up the sequences so that the first sequence is a mute sequence, because when you're arranging you want to be able to mute the MPC, otherwise it will just keep on playing the last sequence. A mute sequence is nothing more than a sequence with no events on them. Okay. What I then did, just like in the previous video, I assigned outputs to the various pads I'm using. Okay, so the first is routed to output 1, the second to output 2. These are all routed to output 3, and this sound is output 4. Okay, and in the channel mixer I set it up so that plugin 1 is routed to output 5 and plugin 2 is routed to output 6. And they correspond to track 3 or 2 and 3. Okay. In Ableton I created a MIDI track, and on the MIDI track I added some clips. There's no relation to the names given here for what's in the MPC right now. It's just an example. In the MIDI clips I set it up so that the program change here is set to trigger program change 1 or send program change 1, and that will trigger the first sequence, and the second MIDI clip is set to be sending program change 2, and it will trigger the second sequence. I also created several other MIDI tracks and added an instrument rack and also an external instrument on that. In the external instrument I set the MIDI to go to MIDI channel 1. As long as there's no multi-timbral support you can set it to any channel, but I left it at 1. Audio from is important because it's the first audio input, and that corresponds to the output on the MPC. So the first track here is the kick, the second is the clap and the hi-hat and so on. Okay, what I also did was create several audio effects. We're going to use these later on. If you're familiar with working in Ableton, you may already know that you can select MIDI clips and drag them to the arrangement view to the MIDI track you want to work on. Okay, I don't have to do that because I already made these clips in advance. Okay, so let's select all, press 0 to enable the clips, and press this button to play in the arrangement view. Okay. If I would play from the start, you notice that if this MIDI clip is triggered, it will trigger the next sequence. One important thing to note is that the sequence length is set to 2 bars here. So if I would remove this MIDI clip, it would still play after 2 bars. But you have to set the first MIDI clip before 2 bars. Okay, so this clip is only here for reference, so that I know which sequence is playing. Okay. And of course, if always, yeah, it's a strange thing. Okay. Here we'll trigger the next sequence, and so on. Okay, it's playing. Okay, just something. The reason why I want to work like this is because I want to use the MPC Live as a sort of sketch pad when I'm sitting on the couch or anywhere else, and create some beats, and then be able to take my ideas in the studio and further develop them in Ableton. I also have the ability to use my other external gear. Okay, and it also enables me to use automation in Ableton itself, because working with automation in the MPC is a bit of a hassle, and I'm used to working with Ableton, so why not use the power of Ableton to get the best of both worlds. Okay, speaking of automation, you can enable automation mode by clicking this button, and if we would enable the different audio effects, we are able to hear what the automation does. So you heard the dry sound. Now okay, let's start here. Well, it speaks for itself. So although I would rather prefer that the MPC has multi-temporality support, this for me is a nice workaround, because I can still create my sounds and create music wherever I want, and when I'm in the studio I can edit it the way I'm used to with Ableton, and of course also add other gear as well. So these are two examples how you can set up and use the MPC as a sound module and use it with Live. And I hope you learned something from either of the videos. And this concludes the two-part series. And in the next video I will show you how I use these two methods to arrange a song, or at least arrange something that resembles the start of a song. Okay, well, thank you for watching, and till the next time.